world. But before I actually go into that, I'd just like to give a bit of a summary of who Carolita Oliveros is and why she's actually here. First of all, I'm very grateful that she's been providing these services, her professionalism to our members around the world for several years now, month after month. She actually loves to educate. And as you can see from her history, she has a deep roots in education. In fact, she's an international attorney. For the past 25 years, Carolita activities and accomplishments include faculty instructor at the McGuire Entrepreneurship Program at the University of Arizona, the Entrepreneurship Program at Thunderbird, American Graduate School of International Management, adjunct instructor at the Pima College, teaching courses on business law, managing a non-profit organization and finance, faculty member of the Best Brain Ideas Business Plan Contest 2010-2011, author of courses on leading and non-profit organizations, instructor, now this is a big one also, many of you would recognize this name, an instructor and co-author of the Rich Dad Personal Finance course with Robert Kiyosaki, which she co-authored with Rich Dad Company. And she's a founder and author, developer of seminars, workshops, educational materials, and coaching programs on recession-proof financial strategies, something that we like to do here, and recession-proof investment strategies. She's the co-chair of the Arizona District Export Council, an appointment by the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, a board member of Planet of Coexist in Tucson, in Arizona, and a co-founder of the Momentum for Women. She's a past chair of the Arizona World Trade Fair and past chair of the Tucson Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce International Trade Committee, among many, many, many other things that it's probably too much to actually list. So as you can see, she's been a very, very busy lady. I know she's been an international entrepreneur doing business all over the world for her clients. She holds a master's degree from the University of Texas and Juris Doctor from the University of Arizona College of Law in the United States. So with that, it's going to be my great pleasure to bring to you Carolita Oliveros, our great friend, our mentor, our coach, to give you some ideas and insights what you're going to need in 2017. So welcome to the call, Carolita.
Bill, thank you so much. I'm just thrilled to be here. Actually, it's finally a gorgeous day, and I say that because, you know, I always say that we have beautiful days in Tucson, but it's actually been snowing here, if you can believe that, in the middle of the desert.
That's pretty bizarre, but we are living in times of change and weather patterns as well, of course, Carolita.
Well, it's always interesting living here. Never a dull moment. But I'm really excited to be here today because, as you said, we're not thinking big anymore. We're thinking Happy New Year 2017. I can't believe we're yet into another new year. It's going to be an amazing year. Last year, as you know, in the United States, it was quite an interesting year. We had the elections in November. We now have a new president who moved into office on just a few days ago, actually. He was inaugurated on the 20th of January. So it truly is a new year for us here. And I'm wishing all of you around the world a Happy New Year. You know, we've been talking now for several years. I mean, from the very beginning, when Bill was so gracious to invite me to do these webinars, oh gosh, Bill, I think what, 4 years ago now, and I was so excited about the opportunity to do this. The one thing that I had always said in all of my classes and all of my mentoring and everything that I've ever done with my clients, you know, we wanted to think big. We wanted to think outside the box because we get so encased in whatever it is that we're doing on a daily basis that we forget that the picture is so much larger. It's just exponentially larger than where we allow our minds to go. You know, there's that old saying, which I'm sure translates into every language on the planet, And that is that, your only limit is your imagination. So whatever you can imagine and think of, you can conceive, you can do it. But you need to think exponentially now, because the world is in an exponential framework. We're no longer just plodding along with things happening once every century. We are way beyond that. Last year, we looked at all kinds of new trends, and we're going to take a quick review of those in just a minute. But the astounding thing is that in 2016, we were talking about looking at trends that would be several years out before they actually became reality. When I was putting together the PowerPoint for this webinar today, I went back through those trends and I'm looking at them and saying, oh my goodness, those aren't long-term trends. We're already doing those things. So it's going to be really interesting for us to take a quick walk back through that just to review, to see where we've been and where we are right now, because we need to be bold about how we're doing things, and we need to really be strategic. Those principles have not changed. The implementation of those principles we're going to give a new twist to. That's what 2017 will be about. So we talked about the exponential technologies. And of course, if it's exponential, then it's disruptive. And by that, we simply mean that it has disrupted an old pattern, an old way of doing things. The example that I think I've used with all of you many times, and there are several of them actually that I think are very descriptive. Uber has changed the taxi industry completely. Airbnb has changed the hotel industry completely. Amazon has changed booksellers completely. And Amazon, talk about being exponential in its technology and bold in its view of how big it can think, and being strategic. I mean, companies like Amazon and Google and a number of others around the world are classic examples of how a visionary, exponential entrepreneur started that company, and just in a very short period of time, it has just exploded. So those are the kinds of things that are disruptive technologies. We see it in the healthcare industry. We're seeing it in a dramatic way right now in the healthcare industry in terms of disruptive technologies, new technologies that are coming in for healthcare and for remediating diseases and so forth. So what were the top disruptive technologies that we said last year were going to be emerging for the future? Well, we're going to see that the future is not out there somewhere. The future is now. Self-driving cars and trucks and buses. It was such a novelty last year to talk about self-driving cars, and there were companies around the world, companies in all kinds, various different countries, who were developing self-driving cars. And now we see them all over the place. Drones and flying cars. We haven't necessarily seen flying cars yet. I mean, there are some prototypes that are in development, but drones are everywhere. In the United States, we now have a whole new set of regulations regarding drones and what drone owners have to comply with, what kind of licensing drone owners have to get. Drones are very, very useful in a number of creative ways, especially when you've got Amazon delivering products by drone within hours after you order your product online, or drones delivering medical supplies into very remote locations where they were never able to get medical supplies before because they didn't have a way to get them there other than to just airlift them and drop them, parachute them down. But now they can be delivered by drone, and we're saving lives as a result of it. So that's a here and now thing. It's no longer part of 5 years into the future. I expect definitely that we will see flying cars this year in some form or fashion. Sure, I think there'll probably still be prototype models because there are a lot of issues that need to be resolved with regard to just the entire technology of, most of the companies that I've researched who are doing flying cars are trying to lift them up vertically off the ground instead of taking off like an airplane. Well, there are still all kinds of federal aeronautics problems involved with having yet another vehicle in the sky, and what that really means with regard to airplanes and helicopters and so forth. So I mean, there are a lot of things to be decided and to be worked out. But will we see something? Probably so. Artificial intelligence and robotics. Oh my goodness. Well, now there's a subject that will just set you on your ear. Who would have thought 5 years ago that artificial intelligence would be, I guess maybe the right way to say this is taking over? Taking over in a good sense. I mean, we've now got IBM's Watson, who is involved in all kinds of technologies. I mean, everything from wearable medical technology, that you wear as a wristwatch, or that you wear on a piece of clothing, or you strap it around your body, and Watson talks to you, or Alexis talks to you. Robotics are now everywhere. We've got artificial intelligence in our cars. We've certainly got it in our computers. We've got it all over our houses, smart houses. All of that is artificial intelligence. I mean, you can now, from a remote location, there was a really interesting news story on the local news just a few days ago. One of our military personnel is stationed overseas in a remote location, and on his iPad he can watch his house right here in Tucson, Arizona, and he watched someone breaking into it. So he notified the authorities, and before the thief could even get out the door with the stuff that he was trying to steal, the police were standing there to arrest him. That's pretty amazing. I mean, because this soldier was thousands and thousands of miles away on the other side of the world, literally. Thank you, smart houses. Thank you, iPads. Thank you, all of this technology. Pocket supercomputers for everyone. That just kind of flows right into what I was just talking about. We carry around smartphones, and smartphones now are in all kinds of emerging countries that never had that technology before. But now you can communicate with anyone almost anywhere, not quite anywhere, because we're still working on, and we'll see that in a minute, we're still working on the Internet of Things and worldwide free Internet, which, believe me, again, is something that is not years down the way, it's maybe months down the way. Cryptocurrencies and blockchains. We've done a lot of talking on these webinars, and actually you wouldn't even be listening to me if you weren't involved with Swiss Gold Global. And that's exactly what Bill Rao talks about those are the opportunities that Swiss Gold brings to you now. Bitcoin and blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies. Pay attention. That's the wave of the future. In a cashless society, which is where I think we're going, countries and governments around the world are already looking at how they can become cashless, C-A-S-H-L-E-S-S. In other words, no physical currency, cryptocurrency. Innovations in medicine and computerized medicine. It's now possible to look at disease and say, and this is not Carolita talking, okay? I've read this and I can't tell you how many different journals. I've watched I don't know how many documentaries. I mean, it's becoming more and more widely well-known and accepted that not just within a lifetime, but within maybe the next year or two at the most, we will look at disease and say, you know, there really is no disease that cannot be conquered, because medicine is making those exponential leaps. It's just like watching Star Trek. You know, when Dr. Bones on Star Trek has that device that he scans up and down your body. Well, that's no longer a joke. It's already here. You can monitor your own health on your iPhone. So computerized medicine is here, and the innovations to make people well again when some type of disease process is invading their bodies is now not something in the future that we only dream about. It's something that's actually happening. Clean energy. For as long as I can remember, ever since I was a little girl, I've heard people talking about clean energy. And now we're really looking at clean energy in a much different way. And we're developing wind power and solar power have spread across the planet. Other forms of clean energy. Virtual reality and augmented reality. We've been playing around with this for a long time. And now you can do almost anything in virtual reality. Almost all of the major pictures are now coming out, movies, theaters, those kinds of pictures, not flat pictures. But you can even do pictures on your phone now in 3D, pictures on your computer in 3D, creating a whole new reality, creating an augmented reality. So, you know, that's something that we talked about and said, oh, well, you know, you only see that on Star Trek, where they go into altered realities and virtual realities on the spaceships. Well, it's here. We've got it. High quality online education for everyone, everywhere. This, of course, is my favorite because education is my love. It's one of my passions. And one of the things that I had always hoped for, which we now have, is that, and we will have it, let me back up a step here, we will have it for literally everyone, everywhere, just as soon as we have internet covering the globe. Because the one thing that has prohibited us from having education everywhere for everyone is that we couldn't get to a lot of people. A lot of emerging countries didn't have the infrastructure for internet. They didn't have reliable electricity. You know, they didn't have ways to get that access into remote locations. Well, now all of that is becoming a reality. So we literally, within the next year, for sure, will have online education that anybody can tune into, regardless of where they're located. Innovations in indoor farming. This is one of the things that just fascinates me because, you know, I was born and raised in the concrete jungle, as they say. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, in the middle of a huge, bustling city, all concrete. Used to be farmland, not any farms there anymore. So indoor farming and vertical farming in huge buildings like in New York City, for example, where they've got tall skyscrapers that are now dedicated to indoor farming, or at least part of the building is dedicated to indoor farming. Because we are always looking at new and better and more cost-effective ways to have healthy food, to grow organic crops, to be able to get food to populations of people more quickly, more easily, more cost-effectively. Private space companies. This is where the key really is, because you've got people like Elon Musk and his SpaceX company. I mean, if you've been watching the news in the last couple of weeks, and he's just, you know, he had a really disastrous launch, space shuttle launch, in third quarter, fourth quarter of last year. Fortunately, no human lives were taken as a result of that. But he was not to be discouraged. He was absolutely not to be discouraged. Elon Musk likes Sir Richard Branson and Google, who's got birds in the air now, you know, Google Loon, which it's a balloon system. We've talked about all of that. In fact, we started at the beginning of last year when I started talking to you about exponential technologies. We went through several months of looking at exactly what those technologies are and who the companies and the individuals are who are literally groundbreaking in this area of space technology and of the world of internet everywhere. So, as they say, those birds are in the sky, and they're coming in various and different forms. As I said, Google Loon, that's a balloon system. Sir Richard Branson and the group that he's developing with, that's a different type of vehicle that's being launched. So they're coming in different forms, but it's all here. It's all now. You know, the prototypes have been tested and the equipment is actually being launched. And not just with regard to creating an environment for internet, but as Elon Musk and SpaceX did just a week or so ago, when they very successfully, and the thing that is so astounding, if you watch those news broadcasts, not only did they launch, and then off of that rocket, a number of other rockets were launched, but they brought the original rocket down and set it on a moving target on a ship in the middle of the ocean. I look at that because I've probably been around a little longer than a number of you. I look at that and say, wow. You know, I can remember when they couldn't even, they had to bring something down in the ocean for sure, but they were dropping a capsule with human beings in it into the water and praying that the boats and the helicopters got there before anybody drowned. And now SpaceX is bringing down a rocket to land on the deck of a ship that's in the water. I mean, that's amazing. Okay, so now what? What's next? I mean, this is all pretty astounding. And the fact that we were talking about it in terms of, oh, look, we think it's going to happen in 2016, and now in 2017, January of 2017, we're looking at a number of these exponential technologies and saying, you know what? It's no longer the future. The future is now because we've got it. So where does that leave us? In terms of you and I being exponential entrepreneurs, you know, whether that's in our business or whether it's in our personal lives, however you want to define that for yourself. All right, so how do I or you or should I or should you use exponential technology in my plan to create wealth for myself and my family? You know, have you looked at all of this information? Have you looked at these new technologies and thought to yourself, well, you know, Carolita, that's just really great. And it's all very interesting every month when we talk about the new inventions and you know, all of these new pieces of equipment and all these new, quote, toys, unquote. Robert Kiyosaki loves to call them doodads. You know, it's things we spend our money on. Well, so they're not necessarily doodads anymore. How do we incorporate this into our lives, into our plan to create wealth for ourselves and our families? Isn't that the ultimate question? At least for us right here on this webinar today. How does this information contribute to my success or to your success or to the success of your company? Because if we're not moving with the flow, then we're being left behind. We're back there somewhere, wherever it was that we became entrenched. So how does this information contribute to help us be successful? That's kind of an interesting perspective, because let's look at all the things that we've done. I mean, if you've been participating with me over the last 3 or 4 years, I was so excited not very long ago, right? I think it was the week after New Year's. And hopefully that gentleman is on the line today and is listening. But I believe it was the week between right before New Year's. A gentleman emailed me and said, I'm going back through all of the 2012, 2013 webinars, and you said, and he listed off some things, do you still have the handouts for those, or can you provide me with some more information? I can't tell you how thrilled I was to know that a number of you out there do go back and get into your back office and look at the information that's already been provided, because this information is in the aggregate. By that I mean it builds on each other. What I said to you in 2013 was not just for 2013. That was to help you eliminate your debt. And so I have great expectations that many, many, many of you took all that information that we dealt with for a year or 18 months very seriously in terms of getting your debt load under control. Many of you even emailed me and told me that you had gotten your debt paid off. Wow, did that ever make my heart sing? That's fantastic. A number of you are still working on it, which is just exactly perfect for you because you're paying it off every single month. You're restructuring and you're doing what you need to do to get rid of that debt. We analyzed your finances. We actually created financial statements for our personal lives as well as for our businesses, so that you could analyze exactly what kind of income you have coming in, how often that comes in. Is it weekly? Is it every 2 weeks? Is it once a month? How are you allotting that income? What kind of bills do you have? So we analyzed all of that. And then we created a financial plan so that you could actually take all of that financial information and put it into a workable plan, and it could have been just a small plan that kind of grew as things progressed. Maybe it started out a little bit larger for some of you. Putting your business life on a financial plan was probably a new experience for some of you, but a necessary experience, because you cannot run a business without a financial plan. Then we launched from that into researching wealth strategies and looked at all of the different strategies and the ways to increase income, to develop additional sources of income. And that has continued with all of our planning and putting together a wealth plan that we said would be growing. And that's why we were evaluating the trends. And where are we in 2016? Where are we going in 2017 and beyond? Okay, so we've been doing all of that for 3 years now, however long it's been. Tony Robbins, who has been one of my personal greatest mentors. I've been going to Tony Robbins seminars since 1989 was the first one. Tony did a seminar in Phoenix, Arizona called The Power of Persuasion. And I looked at that title and said, I have no idea what he's going to talk about, but I know I have to be in that room. So I took a day off from work and I drove to Phoenix, and I was in the room with Tony and about 100 other people, because it wasn't a very big seminar. Back then, Tony was doing really small and intimate seminars. But there were about 100 of us in the room. We were there for 14 hours straight. We got bathroom breaks and water breaks, and that was it. I didn't eat dinner until I was out of there, and it was about 10 o'clock at night, and I thought, oh, I've got to have something to eat before I get in the car and drive home, because it was a 2-hour drive to get home again. So, I've traveled that road with Tony for a long time, and one of the things that he always says is that success leaves clues. But you've got to be willing to look for the clues. And you need to know what success means to you personally, because it doesn't mean the same thing to each one of us. We all define our lives in different ways, and we define success differently for each of us. We did a number of exercises a long time ago about what success means to you and how you define that. And maybe you would like to go back at this point and take another look at that, because it's really important to go back, pull that information out, look at the plan you put together on how you define that for yourselves or for your business, for your families. Because it may be time to restructure that in some way. You've done an awful lot of growing and expanding over these last few years. You're not the same person today, just like I'm not the same person today that we were 3 or 4 years ago. Life happens. Success many times comes and goes. But we need to know what that is in our lives so that we can define that in a way that's not only creative, but useful and instructive, and moves us from point A to point B to point C to point Z and beyond, okay? It needs to be working in our lives. So if we're going to take a 30,000-foot view of things, you know, which is all we're really going to have time to do today, and I'm only even going to cover one facet of the whole subject. We'll be looking at this probably for one or two more times because it's so enormous. There's so much to tell you. There's so much for us to look at. So many case studies for us to look at. So if we take a 30,000-foot view, if we're literally standing on the shoulders of giants, what is it that we see? You know, what clues can we learn from the giants? If we're looking down on things and getting the bird's eye view of it all, what is it that the giants in the industries are telling us? What clues are they leaving? What you know, following the breadcrumbs, so to speak. Picking up the breadcrumbs, and where is that going to lead us personally and in our businesses? Because there are clues everywhere that are very instructive and very useful. They'll be instructive and useful to each one of us in a different way, more than likely. But that's okay. Because we're all individuals. We're all different. We're all unique. The first clue is your health. I see some of you out there rolling your eyes. Don't roll your eyes at me, because being healthy is both an art and a science. I found that out personally the hard way, because I've been in a couple of accidents. And the healing process is not something to be ignored. I know that when I was young, and when, you know, from the time that I was a kid and growing up, and my family always said, well, wait until this happens to you, or wait until that happens to you, or, you know, wait until you're not young and healthy and vigorous and energetic. And I thought to myself, it will never happen because I'm invincible. And it's that spirit of invincibility that literally carries all of us from one day to the next. You know, we don't dwell on the horrible things that can happen. We dwell on the fact that we are invincible and we can go forth and do great things. But at some point, as a baby boomer, and I admit to the fact that I'm a baby boomer, at some point as a baby boomer, you look at what's going on in your body and what's going on in your personal life and where you're going to focus your energies and your time and your effort and your finances, and you say, you know what? And this is what the clues are telling us, because all of the people that I have researched, every single one of them, without exception, all of them have said, without health, you can't do any of these other things, or you can't do them, all these other things that you want to do, as quickly or as easily. So study what makes you healthy. Learn about what it is that you need to do to keep your body and your mind and your environment healthy. And then practice it. It's not just book learning. It's not just watching something on the internet. It's applying it. It's implementing it. You know, people say to me all the time in business, well, Carolita, that's just fine. You know, like I sent a laundry list the other day to a client of things that they needed to start considering with regard to a certain business deal overseas. And I listed out just 4 things. There were more, believe me, I could have done more, but I thought, no, we're going to start with these 4, because implementation is the secret. So, with regard to being healthy, mind, body, and spirit, that's something that you need to study. You need to spend time at. You need to learn it, integrate it into yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Practice it. Looking at good nutrition. You know, there are a lot of things that constitute nutrition. Depending on the location on this planet where you live. I mean, nutrition varies from one location to another. But one of the things that we do know that research has borne out is that eating fresh organic food will help you to maintain optimum wealth, optimum health, optimum mental acuity. And it will keep your environment clean. Drinking lots of water. Some people say, well, I don't like to drink water. Well, and a number of people on the planet don't have good, clean water to drink, which is another thing that, you know, we're working on as a global community. But it's vitally important to the health of your body to be drinking a lot of good, clean, pure water. Eating fresh, whole foods, organic foods. And that means good nutrition, not stocking up on carbs all the time. There's nothing wrong with carbohydrates. I love carbohydrates. You know, if any of you know, I know everybody in the United States knows who Oprah Winfrey is. And I assume that many of you around the world know the name Oprah Winfrey. And she's on TV now almost every single day because she's been on Weight Watchers, which is a type of a diet. And she said she refuses to give up eating bread. Well, you know, the big advertisement is, I love bread. This is Oprah. I'm imitating Oprah. I love bread. Well, Carolita loves bread too. But I don't eat the same bread today that I ate even a year ago or 5 years ago, because I'm now eating organic bread. I'm now eating sprouted bread. I'm eating gluten-free bread. So, you know, you need to pay attention to good nutrition for you. The other thing that all of the experts and all of the giants tell us is that we have to have quiet time for ourselves. We cannot be perpetual motion machines. Going 24/7, 365. Our bodies are not built for that. We have to have quiet time. Our bodies have to regenerate. They have to heal themselves, and the body does heal itself if you give it the time to do that. If you're pushing it and stressing it all the time, then the body eventually will break down. So plan some time into your daily schedule, whether it's just to sit quietly, whether it's to meditate or pray, whatever that means for you. Give that gift to yourself, because that's where your ingenuity comes from. It's in those moments of quiet and solitude that we discover our creativity, that we discover our self-worth and our self-esteem, you know, that we discover who we really are. Get plenty of sleep. Oh, I'm talking to myself here. I'm the world's greatest at working all night. I'm a night owl. I would much rather sleep all day and work all night. That's just, it seems to be how my biorhythms work. And I know there are a lot of scientists who would disagree with me on that. Tell me that I need to go to bed with the chickens and get up with the chickens at dawn. Well, we all have our cycles. But whenever you sleep, get a lot of uninterrupted and restful sleep. You know, preferably in a dark room that's got, if it's not dark when you're sleeping, if you do have to sleep in the day, if you work shifts, for example, and you work a night shift and you have to sleep during the day, then get a sleeping mask to put over your eyes to create darkness, or put up blackout curtains in the room or shutters so that you sleep in a dark environment, because that's when the body regenerates. Exercise at least 3 times a week. I think everybody should exercise at least 30 minutes a day. And if you can do more than that, then for heaven's sakes, you know, do an hour a day. The secret, of course, is what kind of exercise is good for your body. Some people don't like exercising. I mean, literally, they don't. Just like some people don't like drinking water, you know, because we're all individuals. So figure out what is the right exercise for you. You know, is it stretching exercises? Is it bodybuilding exercises? Are you just wanting to tone the muscles and keep your flexibility going and in flow? You know, do yoga. Yoga is great, and if it's not yoga, it could be dance. All different forms of dance. It doesn't have to be ballet, although I love ballet. It can be any kind of dance. Just keep the body moving. You know, doing Tai Chi, doing Qigong, whatever it is, keep the body moving, in flow, in motion, in keeping your flexibility in place. Don't let those joints and muscles get atrophied. Participate in sports. Oh, and my goodness, there are all kinds of sports. I mean, you name it, whatever it is for you. And practice breathing deeply. Now, when we do aerobics and so forth, that does help us to breathe deeply. It does help us to intake more oxygen. The greatest healer in the world is oxygen. Oxygen heals your body faster than anything else. Any drugs, any modalities, whatever it is. Oxygen is the greatest healer. It's also the greatest detoxifier. Detox your body on a regular basis. You know, if what you're putting into your body is clogging up your liver and clogging up your gallbladder and clogging up your heart, I mean, if you're really into foods that create plaque in your veins, then do yourself a favor, give yourself the gift, and start researching ways to detoxify your body. And do deep breathing, because again, deep breathing goes with this whole relaxation and helping put mind, body, and spirit together in one piece. So breathe deeply, bring in that oxygen, detoxify. Mindset is everything. It pervades all of these healthy things that we're talking about. You know, you've got to have a mindset for good nutrition. You've got to have a mindset for having a healthy body, for doing activity, for getting exercise. You have to have a mindset for all of that. Mindset pervades everything. Having a healthy mindset is really important. So let go of the worry. Let go of the doubt and all the negative thoughts that you think about yourself and the negative thoughts that you think about other people. You know, I think in the very first year that I was doing these webinars, I talked to you a lot about letting go. Because until you can let go of all of the things that are blocking your path, I mean, we create roadblocks for ourselves. I went back and pulled up, I call it the list of S words. S, as in Samuel, beginning. The S words like stress, sacrifice, Suffering. Oh my goodness, how we all hang on to our suffering. Self-sabotage. How many times do you find yourself sabotaging you? It's not somebody else trying to sabotage you, it's you trying to sabotage you. And sorrow. You know, we all go through periods in our lives where sorrowful things happen. But sorrow creates a roadblock, and if we hang on to it long enough, it will create an unhealthy environment in our bodies. So look at the ways that you can let go of all of this emotional stuff. You don't need it. You know, do EFT, which is tapping. Do the Sedona method. Meditation is all about just letting go of all of that. Get into a meditation group. Believe it or not, I find this very interesting because, you know, there are a lot of lawyer jokes floating around. And having been in the field of law for as many years as I have, and having blonde hair, I've heard every blonde joke and I've heard every lawyer joke that I think exists on the planet. But believe it or not, the Arizona Bar Association, which is a mandatory organization that all lawyers have to belong to if you're going to practice law in the state of Arizona in the United States. The Arizona Bar Association is now running meditation classes for lawyers, and they're free. They don't even charge us for them, because here's the key, and this is true of a number of professions, not just the legal profession. Because of the amount of stress involved with doing jobs in the legal profession, the suicide rate and the drug abuse rate are dramatically high. Dramatically high. So the state bar has finally gotten wise to the idea that training people in how to file documents with the court, or techniques to use in litigating, or learning the rules of evidence, or learning contract law, or learning tort law, you know, that's just fine. We need those skills and we need to have those abilities. But the other thing that we need is that we need to let go of all of the emotional trauma and the emotional thoughts and the back talking to ourselves and the ugly things we say to ourselves and the ugly things we say or think about others. We need to let go of all of that, because that creates huge roadblocks to being healthy. I know I need to hurry up here. I get so excited about this subject because it's so near and dear to my heart. Who needs enemies if you are your own worst enemy? And that's what I mean about saying ugly things about yourself to yourself. Be your own best friend. Love yourself. You don't want to be your own worst enemy. Peter Diamandis, who I really respect, he's an author. He's written 2 #1 best-selling books. The first book was called Abundance. The second book is called Bold, B-O-L-D. He's really into exponential entrepreneurship. He's one of the co-founders of Singularity University. For those of you in Germany, last year Singularity University even had a 3-day conference in Germany. You know, this guy, he's just a mega entrepreneur. He has been an original investor in all kinds of companies that I could name that you would know instantly. He's a good friend of Elon Musk and that whole group of mega exponential entrepreneurs that live in Silicon Valley in the United States. He says exponential entrepreneurs have a massively transformative purpose. He calls it MTP. And he says, we take that MTP, and that's what launches us through adversity. It launches us through whatever the trials and tribulations are in terms of building our businesses and building our wealth and building our health. It's that massively transformative purpose. So go back and look at what your purpose is. What did you identify when we were doing all of that work as your mission, as your purpose? We wrote it all down. You've got documents. And if you don't find them, you can go into your back office, because I gave you all kinds of handouts that are in the back office, and you can pull those down and just redo. It won't hurt you to redo those exercises, because now you will have new frameworks to put that in. Take time off and have fun. We cannot be serious all of the time. There has to be fun and levity. We have to laugh. Laughter is another thing that's good for the soul. It's good for your health. You know, your friends love to be around people who laugh and have a good time. One thing that I've learned that I share with you is don't look at your emails before you go to bed. If I make the mistake of doing that, then I'm up for another 3 or 4 hours working. So don't look at your emails before you go to bed. And the other thing that I find very, very helpful is drink some hot tea before bedtime. It relaxes you. It gives you a space, a little bit of time to kind of just come down from whatever the day's activities are. You know, drink, well, I'm a big organic fan, so drink organic tea, but drink organic chamomile or organic peppermint, organic green tea. These teas have a calming effect on the body and on the mind. There's even a product which we have in the United States, and I know that you all have versions of it. It's a magnesium product. It's got magnesium in it because magnesium is so good at relaxing the muscles in your body. And I make it with hot water. You know, I dissolve the magnesium crystals in hot water. And a lot of times I drink that before I go to bed. I call it my comfort drink because it relaxes me. It feels warm inside my body, and it's comfortable, and it gives me comfort. But it helps you to relax, and that means it helps you to sleep better. Practice random acts of kindness. Start with yourself. Be kind to yourself, which goes back to having a positive attitude. Mindset is everything. You know, make it part of your belief system that you are worthy of being kind to you. You deserve to be kind to yourself and to have others be kind to you. And you be kind to others. Just do nice things for people out of the ordinary, just unexpectedly. It makes you feel good, and it certainly is helpful and makes the other person feel wonderful. Practice mindfulness. And by mindfulness, I mean paying attention to how you feel, paying attention to what's going on in your mind, in your thoughts, in your beliefs, paying attention to what's going on in your body. You know, is your stomach upset? Do you feel okay inside? Do you feel flexible? Are your muscles too tight? Are they hurting? So be mindful. Be mindful about your environment and the environment that you've created around you. Is it a peaceful environment that's conducive to good work, to sharp thinking, to being creative? Or is it hectic and filled with havoc, filled with a lot of loud noises? You know, create an environment that's beneficial. Be peaceful in yourself. I guess that's the greatest lesson that all of us have to learn. It's not that I can bestow peace upon you, or that anybody can bestow peace upon you, or make you peaceful. That's something that we do for ourselves. And it's so important to our general well-being. It's so important to our health. And it is one of the things that the giants that we're standing on the shoulders of have all said. You have to find peace within. When you are healthy, your mind is sharp and clear. Your creativity is flowing. You know, I've told you to get a notebook. Somebody actually gave me a notebook for Christmas. I just loved it. I've preached this to my friends and my clients to the point that now they're giving me notebooks. And on the outside of the notebook in big gold letters, your idea book, your idea and intention book. So write down all this creativity while it's flowing in. Keep a little notepad or something beside you. You know, when you are healthy, you wake up feeling energized. You go through the day being energized and being excited about your life, being excited about the activities that you're involved in and what's going on around you and the people that you're with. That's the essence of good health. You have to practice it. You have to be mindful of it. You have to pay attention to it. It's not like somebody's going to hit you in the head with a 2x4 and say, boom, here it is. Now you're healthy. So keep a journal. Here's your project for the coming month. We'll be looking at this when we meet again next month on this webinar. Keep a journal of your health activities. You know, you can't probably start with all of those. Start small. If you're not already doing a number of these, and I know that a number of you, many of you, already are. But start keeping track of it. That's another thing that Tony said. How do you know you're winning if you're not keeping score? So keep a journal and keep track of what you're doing. You know, write down each activity that makes, and how that activity makes you feel. Write down what foods you're eating and whether they make you feel good when you eat it or whether you get a stomachache after you've eaten it. You know, one of the things I discovered was I can't eat a lot of gluten anymore. My body doesn't process gluten, and it gets in my joints and my muscles, and it starts aching, and it makes me tight. So I've had to find other ways to eat the foods I love without eating a lot of gluten. Things like that make a difference, a huge difference. How much time? Write it down. How much time do you spend exercising? How much sleep do you get? How much time do you spend having fun? So keep your journal. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me, which a number of you do, oliveros@flash.net, or go to my website, www.Carolita Oliveros, my first name and my last name, all one word, no spaces, .com. There's a little function on my website which will allow you to send me a message. And as soon as you send me a message, I'll respond to you. So let me know how you're doing with this, because it's just like your financial plan. It's just like you're pulling your financial statements together. You know, we need to pull our health statement together, because if we're really going to move forward with intention, with energy, with purpose, then we have got to be in a good state of health. We've got to have a clear mind, and we've got to be focused. And the only way you can do that is to be as healthy as you can be. So please get back to me and let me know how you're doing with that. And as always, it's been my complete pleasure and my honor to be able to join you again today for an hour. I guess I went over a little bit, and I apologize for that. I just get so wound up about this. So have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, wherever you are in the world. And I'll look forward to seeing you in a month.
Oh, Carolita, thank you for that wonderful presentation. There's so many nuggets that one could take away from that. I really love the term disruptive technologies, and truly we're going to see a lot more of this moving forward, especially during 2017. So my golden nugget taken away from that is, disruptive technology is not so disruptive to myself. You can actually take a win situation with that by being engaged in it, by being involved in it. So it's important to be in synergy with these particular trends. I really liked also, Carolita, that you spoke about health and well-being, because really here we are focused on wealth and wealth preservation, and quite often we lack our own personal issues. And of course, what's the point of having great wealth if you're full of arthritis and can't enjoy the joys of getting into your Ferrari or doing the things that you like to actually do? So I think this is very important for calmness of mind, for clear thinking, for the happiness of life, complete fulfillment. It's a really great way to start off 2017, Carolita. So thank you so much. We have gone over a bit of time, but again, Carolita has given you her contact details. If you have any questions, she is very open and loves to hear from you. You're most welcome to reach out to Carolita, and we'll be looking forward to our next call next month with you. So good night, Carolita, and thank you for everyone joining us from many parts of the world.